Craig, you stole $5,000 from the co-op. That you know about.
Did you really steal money? Or like, what does that symbolize exactly? Or is it the symbolism that like you would be the least likely character to do something, or the pain of like kind of the person in the story who's supposed to be kind of the moral compass? Suddenly, that's the person who stole all this money, the moral compass. What does that mean?
I knew I wanted my character to get evicted so that things could kind of come full circle and the story of Gil and the eviction could come out. Yeah. And I was doing finances one day and I realized like, oh, I haven't been paid yet for my share. So I was like, click, click. I just transferred like $2,000 from the co-op into my account.
Right.
And, I could have transferred even more and like labeled it something else. And it wasn't like I was tempted to do that, but it just made me realize like, wow, that's a lot of power. And people, maybe the other side of that is just like, we all have a lot of trust in each other. Like folks have a lot of trust in me, but I mean, everyone here has a lot of power to make this place beautiful or hell if they, if they want.
And then there's that quote at the end that says, dedicated to all those who tried to make change in the world, but their actions fall short. And that was really sad to me. And I was wondering if that was sort of, it seemed like a self-reflective thing.
A very common part of trying to like make a difference, like do projects that try to be some part of social change in the world. Like Heartbreak is like a big part of that, like things not going the way you intended and sometimes even feeling like it was the opposite of like the reason why you engaged in a project. And I don't think it means that the project itself is therefore a failure, but there are, there's failures along the way.
Well, it wasn't appreciated.
Neither was my eviction.
So I got back from Brazil like 26 hours ago maybe, and I've been really feeling like I want to be there still. Very much so. And this was the first moment watching the video with you guys, and at the end that I felt like this is a good place to be. And the quote at the end about falling short really also struck me because because this trip to Brazil really brought a lot of closure for me, for a organization that I started 10 years ago or so. And yeah, there was definitely feelings of falling short. But it's not true. It's not true at all.
I guess for me, having been here the least amount of time, it's most interesting to me to see the transitions. Most immediately, Shanna and Joey and Va moving upstairs, but also just seeing the number of people who have come in and out of this place. What probably prompted that was the eviction that, created another open space, an open apartment that would allow, another person who was really committed and dedicated to cooperative living.
It is a really difficult question to ask myself at this time in my life, like, being 40, the mom of 2 kids, and just like, how do you build something that is not just self-serving? And then again, those thoughts are also haunting thoughts and often, demobilizing thoughts. And it just occurred to me like that, like we said, by the fact of it existing, there are things that are taking place without like really like forcing it.
And I think it's worked for everyone who's been able to save a little bit more money. And it worked for all of us for mitigating the isolation that is so prevalent in our culture, and that you're not supposed to really know your neighbors. And I'm living in a situation like that now where it's very bizarre, where no one talks to each other, and people pull in, in their car, and they leave in their car, and they go in their apartment, and no one says hello. I don't even know the names of the people on my building floor.
So, and that can be done in so many different ways. Like we say social justice, the social justice movement and whatever. But to me, it's like, so it's almost like that's a part of it, or maybe that is what, that is what social justice is learning to love each other more.
Because I feel like there's a lot of things that perhaps I would like to go back on and say either thank you, I'm sorry, or I love you. But have you thought about what to do without my institutional knowledge? Conrad, I'm gonna get you. Institutional knowledge.
I think that this has been really a great project in order for folks to be able to reflect on what it means to live here and what the Fair Op does, and the opportunity that provides, and the relationships that are formed and sustained through this organization.
I am still attached. I haven't quite let go or really come to terms entirely with the circumstances of what brought about leaving. And this project has allowed me to face that a little bit more head on. And also the thank you, I love you, I'm sorry feels like perfect, kind of perfect sort of expression to say to the Fair Op. Like, thank you, I love you, I'm sorry. Sorry for things I didn't maybe do right in the kitchen when we laid the floor, or I love this place, and then thank you, I love you, I'm sorry to the people who lived here, who I lived with, who I feel like I did justice in loving, and then I maybe did tons of injustice to in other ways.
Did it turn out at all the way you imagined it, or?
Yeah, I think the hardest thing was keeping up with like how many changes were happening over such a short period of time. Like, I think that was actually like that was one thing I realized through this process. Is like, wow, like change happens all the time. It was like the people, it was like the floors, like the furniture, just like so many things kept changing.
I'm remembering the first time, Craig, that you brought up this idea, and it was when I think I had I hadn't even decided to move in yet. I was just staying here when Vanessa was away, and you brought up the idea, and it got me like really excited, and I was like, I want to live here. And now, several months later, going through this process, especially watching it with everybody, just kind of cozied up, it kind of reignited that, man, this is just a wonderful place to be. So it's been a big part of, this has been happening since I moved in. So it's almost like, what's the Fair Op without this project?